Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Peaking into Success podcast. We've now hit the big milestone of 20 episodes, which I'm really happy to have achieved and got to this point. So hopefully we'll have many more and we'll hit the next 20 and the next milestones really soon. Today we've got on a man who plays for the Derbyshire Falcons, who was in the last season of the T20 nearly broken the Derbyshire Falcons record. We have a man called Tom Wood.
The Bless is open every day from 12 p.m, serving a wide range of beers, ciders, real ales and spirits. Their kitchen also provides handmade pizzas, loaded nachos, chicken strips and ice cream from 5:50 to 10:30 Monday to Thursday and 12 p.m to 10:30 p.m Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The pub quiz is very popular with anyone that enjoys a good beer and a bit of a laugh with their mates. Taking place every Wednesday at 9 p.m, there's loads of prizes to be won, including £50 drinks vouchers for the winners and a bottle of wine for the best team name. Everyone's a winner. They also have a spacious function room available to hire that can hold up to 100 people. Wow, that's a lot. Perfect for birthday parties, work events, weddings and wakes. The Bless really comes to life at the weekends with their branded nights of Stone Love and Fully Loaded, where the DJs play alternative, indie and rock music spanning the generations until the early hours of 2 a.m. There really is something for everyone in what is arguably Derby's best pub.
So, Tom, how are we today?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Pleased to be here, so thanks for having me.
Thank you. No, it was good to try and catch you on Friday night after you did a big achievement for yourself. So, we'll get onto that later. But do you want to firstly tell people kind of who you play for and how you got into cricket?
Yeah, so I'm currently a professional cricketer at Derbyshire Cricket Club. I got into cricket originally at a very young age. I come from a cricket mad family. My brother, I've got an older brother, so I was always playing with him in the house, in the garden, at the local cricket club. My dad's a cricket fanatic as well, so I've just naturally always been around cricket and just been playing ever since I could stand up, really.
Nice. So who would you say, of course, growing up would be your cricket inspiration? Is it kind of your dad for getting you into it, or is there a certain player that you kind of resonate with?
Yeah, so I think my dad is always the one who originally would have got me into cricket, because I don't think if my dad had a love for the game and played as much as he did that I would ever really got into it, because it's not really something that happened at school. So that was always the person who got me into cricket originally. But in terms of like idols when I was growing up, I can't really look any further than Andrew Flintoff. The 2005 Ashes is often talked about for a lot of people my age as an inspiration growing up, watching them playing that amazing Ashes series and how Andrew Flintoff performed in that as well. That was probably the main man for me.
Nice. So, of course, looking at your career, of course, you started at Derby, didn't you? Have you, for anyone that doesn't know, kind of what is your career like route? So, of course, started at Derby, if you went anywhere else, and of course you're at Derby now.
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough I'm a Derby lad. I live 10 minutes away from the ground, and I've been involved in the Derbyshire system ever since I was 10 years old. Nice. So I played the Derbyshire under-10s all the way through to under-17s, played in the academy, and then started playing a bit of second team cricket for a few years, and then when would it have been, back end of 2016, I signed my first professional contract. But just before that, the start of 2016, I actually played for a team called the Unicorns, which that team played in the second 11 white ball competitions, so the 2020 and the 50 over cup. And it was basically just a team constructed of guys who had either been released from counties previously or guys who were trying to, had aspirations to become a professional cricketer and get a contract somewhere. So we had our own team playing against all the county second teams to try and do well and impress and get a contract that way.
Oh, nice.
So having been involved in the age group setups, the academy, played a little bit of second team cricket, Didn't go how I wanted it to. So then the next year I started playing for the Unicorns, did really well. And Derbyshire got a new coach at the time, Kim Barnett came in charge. And I think the coaches at the Unicorns knew Kim and spoke to him, and that's how I got in at Derbyshire again.
Nice. And then you stayed there ever since?
Yeah, so I signed my first contract for them back end of 2016, but was then released at the back end of 2017, which was tough. And then I had basically 2 years where I wasn't contracted, but I still, we call it trialing in cricket, where you basically play for free, you get your expenses. So you're just playing in the second team to try and perform well and get given a contract again. So I basically did that for 2 years in 2018 and 2019 in the summer. Yeah. Whilst in the winter I would go to Australia for 6 months and play over there.
Oh, nice.
So I had a few years of just flicking between Australia for the winter, playing here, trialling, back to Australia, playing here, trialling, back to Australia. And then I think I re-signed for Derbyshire in 2020 when COVID happened. So just after COVID, I signed a contract then, and then I've been there ever since. Nice.
So, kind of, are you comfortable in Derbyshire? Is there kind of anyone kind of that would make? Is there any team that would make you move? So is there? It can be abroad, so you don't have to say another team that you'd play against or another county. But like, is there anywhere in the world that if you got offered that dream move, you would go to?
Not really, no, I don't think so. I think for me, being from Derby, being involved with the club ever since I was 10 years old, it's really quite special for me to play for Derbyshire. And obviously got all my family here, all my friends here, my life is based in Derby. So yeah, I'm very happy at Derby.
Nice. So of course the coach at the moment is Mickey Arthur, kind of because of course his vast managerial kind of resume, as you call it. Has he added to your game? Has he kind of helped you progress? Is of course I'm noticing more as I've been attending this season, you're kind of getting into the first team more and more and kind of showing yourself, especially in the T20. So do you think he's kind of propelled you on and given you that platform to perform on?
100%, yeah. Mickey's, like you said, he's got an incredible amount of experience. He's worked with some of the best teams, some of the best players in the world, and his resume speaks for itself, really. So it was one of them, when he got appointed, we almost had to pinch ourselves because it was such a coup for the club. But yeah, Mickey's been great. I almost feel like it was tough for me. Obviously, I wasn't around last year when Mickey first came in, and then I came in again halfway through. So I didn't really get as much time with him as I'd have liked originally. But definitely this back end, this season in the winter, I spent a lot of time with him. He's got high standards and he pushes everyone to be the best they can be. And when you've got a guy with such experience, who's worked with such amazing players, he's always going to help.
Sweet. And of course, kind of your performances on the pitch are kind of showing that kind of, if say you've got someone that you trust and they're pushing you to them high standards will go onto the pitch, of course. And you've got, of course, on Friday you got 110 not out. So do you kind of want to explain how that feels? Is that a career high for you in a T20 match?
That
personally,
is,
yeah.
Personally, that's my highest score for Derbyshire. It's my second 100 for the club. I got 100 in 2021 in the 50 over comp. So that was my first one. That was very special. But to get one on Friday in a 2020, it was almost like a pinch yourself moment. So yeah, that was an incredibly special moment for me. After everything that happened last year and almost being in and out of the team a little bit in the 2020 comp, to come back in and put a performance in like that was incredibly pleasing. And I had my brother there in the crowd watching the whole time, so that was really special as well.
Nice. And you said to me before we started recording, of course, you didn't know the record for Derbyshire was 111. So do you think, of course, if you'd known that before, would that have changed you to try and beat that and try and cement yourself? Or do you think you just, when you were out there on Friday, you just kind of played your game and you got the 110 absolutely. Just on playing your game?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I had absolutely no idea about records or stats or anything like that. So I was just in the moment trying to score as many runs as I possibly could. And yeah, obviously in the last few overs I didn't get to face many balls, but that's just the way it went. There was no sort of thought process in that. The guys who came in, like Lias came in and smashed it as well, and then Hyder came in and smashed it as well. It's just the way it works, them things, and we got up to a massive score, which was the main thing, regardless of who gets a run. So just over the moon to get 100 and put a big score on the board, and obviously it means the world to win as well.
Nice. So of course, looking at you more now in your career, what do you see as your career high? Is of course Friday was a big accomplishment, so is that it, or have you got another memory in mind that's your career high?
Yeah, so there is a couple that stick out for me. Obviously Friday was a very special night for me, to get my first T20 on a Friday night at home. I think it was the second fastest T20 or joint fastest with Wes. There's only Wayne who's got one quicker than that. And I've now got 2 of the 4 fastest hundreds in Derbyshire cricket history,
Really?
which for me it's another pinch yourself moment. It's unbelievable to even think that of all the amazing players that have played at the club and scored hundreds over all the years, I've got 2 of the 4 fastest. So that Friday night was special, especially after everything that happened last year. But then my first 100 for the club, that was also a very special one for me as well. The first one was always special, so
Yeah.
I'd definitely say them 2 were the highs and the standouts for me.
And I mean, there's probably going to be many more to come. So of course, then you'll just add to that. Kind of moving on then from your high to a defining moment. So that can be kind of your hundreds maybe defined your route and propelled you on, or you might have something else.
Yeah, I think a big defining moment for me was probably losing my contract at the end of 2017, having put in such a big body of work to build myself up to the point of getting a contract. Years and years of hard work and sacrifice to get that contract, and then to lose it after 1 year was incredibly tough for me. And at the time, it almost feels like the end of the world. I've spoken about this before, but looking back now, it's definitely a defining moment, because I'm a big believer in it's the hard things and the low points in your life and in your career that almost propel and push you forward to become the best version of yourself you can be. I'm a big believer that everybody needs hardships and bad things to happen in their life for them to be able to push past that and become the best version of themselves they can. And that definitely did that for me. It gave me such unlimited motivation to work harder. Like I said previously, I went away to Australia. I worked really hard over there on my game. I came back. I tried for 2 years. So I didn't have a job for 2 years, just living by, getting by. But that desire and the hunger was always there. Whether it's to prove people wrong, to prove yourself right, whatever it is, I think that pain and the suffering that you go through in them low moments are what you can use to push yourself to the next level.
Well, that's kind of the inspiring thing, of course, about you, and should be for a lot of younger people if they want to get into cricket or any sport, that there's going to be times when you get pushed back, but it's kind of how you push on. And I mean, me and you spoke before and you said you don't mind me mentioning it, of course, about the inhaler and the 6-month ban, and of course kind of showing that you've had the contract as well as this. There were 2 big pushbacks, but then look at what you're achieving now. You're kind of proving the haters wrong, let's say. You've kind of been pushed back, and now you're here and you're literally nearly breaking Derbyshire records. So kind of, do you think that also defined you and made you up your game as well as the course contract release? Kind of, what are your views on that?
100%. I know I've mentioned it a few times already, but referring to the last year, once I found out that was all happening, that was an incredibly difficult time for me personally. So the start of 2022, from pretty much December 2021 through to when I came back in July, was probably 7 of the hardest months of my life. And I had other personal things going on at the time which obviously didn't help. And it was just the whole uncertainty of not knowing how it was going to plan out, what was going to happen, because UK Anti-Doping and the ECB, who obviously are the governing bodies in our sport, they was trying to get me banned for 2 years. So obviously we had to go to a tribunal, had to get a lawyer and solicitor, and the PCA were amazing and helped me out with that, to basically try and fight my case to show that I've not done anything wrong. I've took this inhaler since I was 10 years old. Like, unbeknown to me, there was a prohibited substance in it, and it was just a sheer mistake, an accident, and with absolutely no intention to try and gain any sort of advantage at all. It was just an inhaler like everybody else, millions and millions of other people use every day, just to try and help you breathe properly.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that time was incredibly difficult for me, and I felt like, obviously at the time with Mickey coming in, whilst I was away, I almost felt, once I did come back, I was almost a step behind everybody as well, and I didn't really have many chances to play, having been off that whole time, because I wasn't able to train, I wasn't able to be around the team at all. I was almost completely ostracised due to the ban. So that was incredibly difficult, and I almost felt coming into this season like it was almost personal for me this year. It was a bit of like time to make up for lost time, and also show Mickey and the club what I can do, because obviously he was new into the club, he'd not seen it. But yeah, them low points like that are always a massive driving force, and I think it's given me an added gratitude. I was already very grateful for the position that I'm in, having been released and lost my contract, to then come back and get it again. Like anything, you have good and bad days. Professional sport's tough. It gets you down sometimes, it gets to everybody, but I've always had that gratefulness to be very grateful for what I am able to be doing. To play cricket for a living is very privileged position to be in. And then I basically, having been forced away through the anti-doping ban for 6-7 months, I've almost got like a double dose of gratitude for that now. So it's just, for me, it's about making up for lost time and just making sure I don't take any second for granted. And I think, I know you was there on Friday, you probably saw my celebration.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of that emotion and that poured out of me there. And I'm quite a big one for like listening to podcasts, reading books, like a lot of motivational stuff like that. And I remember seeing a video, I think it was Ben Affleck when he won his Oscar.
Yeah.
And part of his acceptance speech, he said that one of the clips, I think I saw it on Instagram, he said, "You've got to work harder than you think you can possibly can, and you can't hold grudges, and it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life, because that's always going to happen. The only thing that matters is you've got to get up." And I remember seeing that whilst I was going through what I was going through last year, and it almost made me emotional just watching it, because it was so relatable to me. Like, it would be easy for me to sit here and hold grudges against Derbyshire, against the coaches in the past who released me from a contract or wouldn't give me a contract, and to sit here and hold grudges with the ECB and UK Anti-Doping and almost sit back and blame everybody else and be a victim and it's not my fault. Whereas I try and take full responsibility for everything, and I know that everything is my fault regardless of whether it's good or bad. It's my life, I'm in complete control of it, and you've almost got to take the knockbacks, take the falls, and just use it as unlimited motivation to push yourself forward to become the best version of yourself. And that's always what the mindset I've had and tried to become, and yeah, I think that showed on Friday night.
100%, and I mean, it puts you in a good stead for, of course, kicking on from there now, and it kind of shows what you are capable of doing on the big stage, basically, doesn't it? And gives you a good platform to propel yourself on it, especially, of course.
Want to know what's happening within Derby's black community? Or perhaps you have a story of your own to share? Then look no further than Majatu, your one-stop source for local African and Caribbean news. With our digital news platform and quarterly print magazine, keep up to date on all of the latest in arts, entertainment, food, sports and more. Find us online at mojatu.com.
So, of course, moving on to what you're up to now, of course, what kind of your plans for the summer period?
Yeah, so my plans are exactly the same. Like I'm at Derbyshire for the rest of the year. We've got a couple of championship games coming up, and then we've got the 50 over comp, white ball comp coming up at the same time as the 100. So my focus is just on the same as it's always been, to just keep training, keep trying to improve, and trying to perform the best I can and help us win as many games as possible.
Nice. Is kind of county cricket on the horizon to push yourself into there? Now you're in the D20 team as well, or?
Yeah, like the red ball stuff. It's probably the format I've had the least amount of success. I've had quite a lot of success in the T20 and the 50 over comp. But for me, the way I am, I want to try and play every single game and be involved as much as I can, whether that's batting and bowling as well. I just want to be involved and play as much of all three formats as much as possible.
Nice. So of course, going on to, we've spoken about kind of low moments in your life, but kind of, you've kind of hit on this with the Ben Affleck thing, but kind of one piece of advice that you'd give to your younger self. So would that be kind of the Ben Affleck clip when he won the Oscars, or is there something else that you can kind of connect to?
Yeah, it's pretty much, if I could go back and say anything to myself when I was 15, 16, it would pretty much be something along them lines, that like, never give up, keep working. If you've got a dream, believe in it and keep working until you get there. You're going to get knocked down, you just get back up and go again, and just enjoy the process as much as you possibly can. Because there's been times where I look back in the past where I was in a position where I'd always wanted to be, but I was always too busy looking forward to the next thing,
Nice.
like the next year, how it's going to look next year, rather than sitting there and thinking, this is always where I wanted to be, and just trying to take a moment to appreciate that and be grateful for that. And that's one thing I'm trying to do a lot more now, especially after the last few years, just try and be as grateful as possible for the situation. I mean, right now, whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, I always say a bad day at cricket is better than a bad day sat in an office at work. So
Very true, very true.
we're very lucky to do what we do, so I'm just trying to be as grateful as possible for that.
Nice. Kind of moving on, is there anything that you do differently? So if you go back to, of course, that 15, 16-year-old, as you just said, is there anything that you think you'd do differently if you could rewind it all, or do you think everything that's happened in your career has kind of moulded you and made you better?
Yeah, exactly that. Obviously, if you look back, there's always things you could do differently, but I don't think there's any point having regrets and looking back thinking, I wish I would have done this, I wish I would have done that, because at the time you always do what you think is best.
Yeah.
With the knowledge you have and what you know. So you're trying to do your best, and like you said, all the bad things that happen, you use them to shape you to become the person that you are and to push you forward. So I wouldn't change a thing. My journey, my story's been very up and down, very different to a lot of guys who are playing cricket at the minute, but that makes me the person I am, and I think that gives that up and down journey, the amount of adversity and hard times I've faced, gives me a bit of a competitive advantage over other people who haven't quite had it as tough. So I think that stands me in good stead for whatever comes in the future.
Nice. Now we've kind of got some random questions you're not aware of. So just try and answer them the best you can. Of course, you're not aware of these, so of course have time to think after I've asked them for you. Some are kind of cricket related as well, so you should kind of know these. What's your favourite ground that you've played at to date?
That's a pretty easy one. I think most cricketers will all answer the same thing if they've played there, and it's Lords without a shadow of a doubt. It's such a special place, such a historic place. Everything about it is just top class, from the outfield, the food, the history around the place. It's just a really special place. You can feel it as soon as you walk through the gates. It's just got such a special vibe about it. So Lords is always the one.
Nice. Do you think, kind of, for you as a player, do you like kind of the chanting? So, like, for example, at Derby, there's quite a lot of chanting, and there's quite a lot of, like, interaction with the fans compared to, of course, at Lord's there's no chanting. So, is there one you prefer more, or is it Lord's becomes special because of that?
Yeah, I think Lord's is the outlier for that. It's more of it's a special place, and there's certain rules around, especially the MCC, and certain standards and spirit of cricket. But especially on a T20 or a 50 over game, it's like the chanting and the noise from the crowd. Creates a great atmosphere, and it's what all players want to play in front of, and it gives you an extra 10%. So yeah, I'm a big believer in the chanting. Even when we go away and they're chanting horrible things, like I just try and enjoy it and make it have a laugh. People shouting abuse at you, I just find it funny. So like I said, we're privileged to play in front of 5,000-10,000 people.
Yeah.
If they paid their money to come and watch. If they want to sit there and shout abuse at me, they can do that all day long. I'll just be laughing along. So
no, that's fair enough. That's good mentality to have about it. Then it's not ruining your game if you're not getting frustrated at people. Going from your favourite ground, what is your dream ground to play at?
I could easily say Lord's, but I've already played there. But dream ground to play at would probably be MCG in Australia.
Okay.
I think it's where it used to be the biggest. I know there's a bigger one in India now. I think it's in Pune, but I've been there a few times to watch games in Australia and Melbourne, and it's just an absolute coliseum. I think you can get like 90,000 people there to watch cricket. So I've spent a lot of time there while I was in Australia, so I'd love to try and play there one day.
Nice. And I mean, if you continue your run, sky's the limit, isn't it, really? What's your go-to meal? So say, for example, someone's offered to make you a meal. What are you asking for from them?
That is a tough one. I'm the sort of person who goes through stages. So
Okay.
I go through stages of where, like, I'm a big, massive foodie. So I go through stages, whether it'll be like a homemade Sunday dinner, that's one of my favourites, or like a Chinese, an Indian, like Greek, Mexican, just anything like that. Like, I'll go through stages where I might have like 3 Mexicans in a row, or 3 Indians in a row, or I get in a mood for a Sunday dinner. It's just anything like that. I'm happy with all of it. I'm not picky when it comes to food.
Fair enough. Would you rather, if you were attending a music event, a festival or a gig? So I don't know if you've been to either, but what you'd prefer to go to?
Yeah, I don't think really festivals are much of my scene, to be honest. Like, I've been to a couple of Drake concerts, so I'd happily go to a concert and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Sweet. Moving on, more music related. What is your go-to karaoke song? So, of course, like in the football, they have initiation songs. Have you had to do that in cricket as well?
So we have an initiation ceremony called Tex Factor. So anyone new signing, it's always on the pre-season tour.
Okay.
So when it's your first pre-season tour with the club, everyone whose first time it is has to get up and sing in front of everybody, and we make a good event of it. And Sammy Connors and Ben Aitchison host it, a bit like Ant and Dec, or Dumb and Dumber as we like to call them. And they put on a great show, and it's good fun. But for mine, I sang Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer.
Nice.
So I think that's a good karaoke song, one that everybody knows and one that you can really get into.
Weirdly enough, every sports person that I've asked the question to has said Bon Jovi.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
It must be a popular song.
Scott Loach did it as his initiation song for Derby as well. So yeah, he said exactly the same, getting people involved so you don't have to sing on your own.
That's the key. If you sing a song no one knows, then you're on your own. But after the first few, the lads get around you and start singing along with you. So it's a good fun. It's a good laugh.
Nice. And kind of, this is a more Derby related one. If you had one person that's from outside Derby, they come in and they come to you saying, take me to your gem of Derby, where are you taking them to?
That is a very tough one. Very tough one. Favourite spot for food?
It can be anywhere, so you can take them to any place in Derby. You've got them for one place. You take them to one place and that's it.
I've got to take them to the ground and to watch a game. Take them to the ground in a T20 to come support the boys on a Friday night, and hopefully we get a win and that'd be good enough for them.
What would be your food place? As you did mention food, what would you say is a food place?
There's a few I like. I reckon you can't beat a Joiner's Arms pizza, to be fair.
Joiner's Arms is...
It's a good spot there. With some good food, so I'd probably go Joiner's Arms.
I mean, they're popping up all over the place now, aren't they? There's Repton, Walton, I think Chesterfield Way as well, so yeah, they're doing well for themselves and I enjoy it. And then lastly, what are your predictions for the next T20 season? So kind of, we're at the end of it now. So what's your prediction for, firstly, yourself, and secondly, for Derbyshire?
Yeah, I think we showed this year, obviously last year we got in the quarterfinals, and this year we was so close to getting back in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue we had this year was we just got off to a bit of a slow start. I don't think we quite got the combinations right at the start, but we went on a good run during the middle and the back end, and we showed exactly what we are capable of. And this group is only going to get better. We've got a young squad.
Yeah.
We're only going to get better. So I think next year we're 100% pushing to get to finals day, and then go from there for sure.
What about for yourself?
Yeah, for me personally, it's just about building on what I've done this campaign.
Nice.
Just trying to replicate my performances this year and try and become a bit more consistent, and just put in as many performances as I can, whether that be with the bat. I've started bowling a lot more now, which is amazing, so I can sort of have an impact on all three aspects of the game, whether it be batting, bowling and fielding. I just really love being involved in the game at any stage, so just keep trying to develop all of my skills and just keep putting in performances.
Nice. And then last of all, where can people kind of find you? Like, so of course, in terms of cricket or yourself as an individual.
Yeah, so I'm always at the ground, and if anyone wants to come down and pop down and say hello, I'm always around to speak to. I'm happy to talk to people. Apart from that, I'm on Instagram, Tomwood_11. So that's probably, if people want to get in touch with me or follow me along there, that's probably the best place to do it.
Nice. Thank you for coming on, and
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
good luck with everything in the future.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Peaking to Success podcast. If you enjoyed, please make sure you follow us on Spotify as well as Instagram, where you can see all the updates of who is coming up, as well as who has already been on the podcast, as well as Twitter, where there is information and interaction from me on there as well. Thank you.